Hi guys, I am here for my weekly pregnancy vlog. I am going to try and get right into it. I'm not editing this because I feel like every time I edit it, it cuts off words and that just gets really annoying. I don't think I could watch that, so I'm not sure how anybody else does. So, jump right in. How far along are you? I am 34 weeks today, so I'm reviewing week 33. Total weight gain, weight loss. I have gained a pound since last week, which to be honest, I can't remember off the top of my head how much that actually puts me at. Stretch marks. None so far, which I am amazed at. I am sure they will come, but none so far. Sleep. Sleep has been kind of off and on. So the first half of the week was fine. The second half of the week kind of sucked. I was sick. We had a sick kid. And so that threw off my sleep for a night or two. And then one night I was having just really crazy dreams. I had my first labor and delivery dream. And in the dream, we had this like giant whiteboard we had put on the wall. And I was in very active labor. When I got into the dream, I could see myself and I was like ready to push. And I was at home and my husband was asleep, so I figured I would just let him sleep. And then I looked on the wall and there was all of this other stuff, and I realized that I didn't remember being in labor before feeling like I needed to push, and all of these notes had been written on the whiteboard, and everything kept saying that I had been feeling really hot. So when I actually woke up from my dream, I was really worried that I was going to feel very hot in labor. So I actually, 3 a.m., wake up from this dream and went onto Amazon on my phone and bought a stroller fan so that I would have a fan that I could just walk around my house with if I got really hot during labor. Really weird. And then the next couple nights were fine, except I've had some SPD pain, which I'll talk about the reasoning behind that in just a minute. So sleep is kind of off and on. Best moment of the week is just having the kids be so excited, seeing the kids be so excited, and I think we found our doula, so that's definitely a good one too. Movement has definitely picked up. I'm having a lot of movement this week, and I feel like he suddenly grew. I feel like at some point last week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, I just woke up feeling like suddenly he was way bigger. And that sounds ridiculous, but I felt like he was big before. Obviously, I was 33 weeks and whatever. But I feel like he just suddenly went boom and he's just bigger. I don't feel like my belly is a ton bigger. I just feel like suddenly he's huge. So his movements now, lots of rolling, and I have had such an increase in movements. We have had so much movement this week that I feel like sometimes when he rolls really big or when he's moving a leg across or an arm across or what have you, sometimes I need to actually like move to give him more room. It's very strange, but we've had a lot more movement, definitely huge movements. Food cravings? No, but I am having a harder time finding things that I do want to eat. Anything making me queasy or sick? No, but fast food is not making me feel good at this point, which is, I mean, it's fast food, so I shouldn't really be eating it, but there have been a couple times where, like last night, I was really, really hungry. It was 10:30. My husband was on his way home. I said, "Hey, can you just grab me a burrito from Taco Bell?" And then I just did not feel good after. So I'm trying to really stay away from all of that, which I've been pretty good about through most of the pregnancy, but not having like a kind of quick option when I'm out and on the go kind of stinks. I will say that. Have I started to show yet? Well, yeah, that we don't even need to go over that. Leakage. My leakage has kicked up another notch. I'm assuming from this point it's just going to get worse, and that's fine. I have to definitely remember to wear my nursing pads at this point. if I don't, it can become and has become a problem. So I've noticed that with like babies crying, more younger babies than older babies, that you know how their cries change. After their cries really start to change, it doesn't affect me as much. But with littler babies, it definitely does trigger stuff going on. And then if I lean against something and hit, like, put pressure on my chest, they definitely leak. And I found that out one day while we were all out. I leaned over a counter to get something. My boobs got pushed in, and then I came away and I had leaked through my bra. And it's like, really, the one day that I did not wear my nursing pads, and that's gonna be the day that it decides to just be like, hey. So yeah. Um, Labor signs, not really. I've had some pelvic pressure, but that is because of the SPD, which, like I said, that is my own fault. On Sunday, we were going to go meet a doula, but my husband had to go to the store. He took my daughter, and so I was at home with my son. He asked if we could do something. I said, sure, let's go out for a bike ride. He rode around the block while I walked behind him, and that was fine. And then he asked to learn to ride two wheels. And I was like, okay, sure. So I took off his training wheels and was helping him to learn how to ride two wheels. And that was just not smart of me. It was just not smart. I don't know what I was thinking. But the way you have to like lean over to get onto the handlebar and the back of the seat and hold them and like running in that position just really set off my SPD. So I think that's more the reason I have pelvic pressure. But he has also been engaging and disengaging quite a bit. So now that like I think my pelvic bone kind of came apart a little bit more than it had been because of me helping him to ride his bike, and then adding into that, when he engages, that definitely feels a lot more like pressure-y. And I can also feel like when he turns and he's down engaged, if this is my pelvis, like I can feel his head turning around. It's really weird. Belly button in or out, it's still in. I'm amazed by that right now. Well, I never thought my belly button would come out, and now I don't know. We'll see. My wedding rings are still on. Happy or moody most of the time? Happy. Although yesterday I was particularly moody, and that was mostly because the teachers on my kids' campus were all being really big jerks. um, Milestones, at this point, I feel like everything is kind of a milestone. Just getting closer to the end and getting closer to the next ultrasound at 36 weeks. And yeah, so I feel like everything is kind of a milestone each week. So other things that I didn't get to talk about. I don't have any hemorrhoids. For a while, I thought maybe I had some vulvar viscosities, but I don't think I do. I think everything's just a little bit swollen, and that's okay. That's totally normal. I have been having some congestion, but that could easily be because we've had really crazy weather. But I have had some congestion, and when I try and get the congestion out, I have noticed that sometimes it's a little bit bloody. Poop, TMI. If you know me, you probably don't want to hear this. I am not particularly a like everyday poop kind of person, which is fine. I've never had an issue with that. But right now it's like clockwork, which is strange for me, every 2 days. And my poop lately has just been like massive. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on. I feel like it's kind of trying to prepare me for labor, to be honest. And then the last thing is I have had this patch of skin underneath my boobs. It goes like right here. It's like 3 inches wide and like 2 inches long. And it kind of is more like the shape of like an eye. But this patch of skin right here goes numb randomly. And it sometimes goes all the way numb, and it sometimes goes like halfway numb, but I got really itchy one day, which is really strange to be numb, but be able to feel being itchy. So I went to scratch it and it was like, nothing is happening. What is going on here? I couldn't feel that I was scratching it. So then I was sitting there like poking my belly and was like, okay, I can feel this. I can feel this. I can feel this. I can't feel right there. It was really, really weird. So of course I went on and, Googled. And apparently it is fairly normal to get to a point, especially in pregnancy, where your skin is stretched so much more than it is used to being stretched that parts of it go numb. And I had never, ever heard of that. Never once had I ever heard of that in all the pregnancy vlogs that I've watched. But apparently I've gotten to a point where my skin is stretched out enough that I have this random patch of numb skin. And it's not numb all the time. I noticed that for the first time on Saturday afternoon. No, Saturday, like mid-morning. And I have noticed that more towards the end of the day, I think just because the way my belly settles, I feel it more, or I'll feel it like if he's really pushing out more. But in the morning, if after I've been like laying down and my belly's kind of in a little bit, I don't feel it being numb. So it's very strange. I had never heard of it, so I really wanted to document that because who knew? But anyway, I will let you guys go. I hope you're all having a great week. I will insert some pictures and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.